Because if you think about it, you're gonna have, what I said, you're gonna have expectations. Anything you think about, you develop a certain expectation. And sometimes your expectation is not what happens. Because as I said, sometimes in life you can't know where you're gonna reach.
Yeah.
You can't know where you're gonna go, you can't know where you're gonna reach. So to me, it wasn't easy and it wasn't hard. It was just a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't easy and it wasn't hard because I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah. Hi, it's Calvin Niles, the mindful storyteller, and I am delighted to share with you stories of awakening. Each week, I'm going to be talking to people from around the world of various backgrounds and experiences. People I love, I know, and people I admire, but also those who are completely new to me. One thing all my guests will have in common is that they have been through a journey of awakening. By awakening, I mean a call to higher consciousness and deeper self-awareness beyond material reality. These stories will be real, challenging, funny, stimulating, and insightful. We're going to take our good time with these conversations. So listen from your comfy chair with your favorite drink, or on your weekend stroll, your morning routine, or whatever makes you happy. Stories of Awakening with me, Calvin Niles, and I look forward to you tuning in.
Okay.
Welcome. New episode. I am really happy to have Stimulant here. Stimulant, I've just met recently, but I feel like me and Ras are connected. I've been following Stimulant's music. He's been pushing out a lot of good energy online. And I'm just delighted that you could make it because, I was listening to your song this morning, actually. Oh, you can try.
Yes,
We will make it. I was listening to that this morning and I said, yeah, we made it. So thanks for coming on, brother. It's great to have you, man.
it's a blessing, bro. It's a blessing. It's
Yeah.
always my duty to try and present myself. Oh, and let me explain to you. I never mute my background because if this is real, you got to hear what's happening around me.
Yeah.
So I mute the background. I,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, because if you mute, if you try to go in a place where it's too quiet, you lose the vibe.
Yeah. A little bit of context make it interesting. Yeah,
So
that's
you
cool,
can't
man.
be too controlled. Some things have to control themselves.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to know that we control ourselves. But
Well, it's
to
a
all
real
the
pleasure,
people that
Russ.
to all the people that's out there watching, the blessed love. Yes, man.
Yeah, big love, man. So good to have you here, and I'm really keen to learn about the journey because just before we even hit the record button, we were ready to start talking about life
Yeah, man.
being a really interesting journey and things like that. And that's exactly what this show is about, what this conversation is about. Is about learning from other people's journeys, their stories, their experiences, what brought them to where they got to. And yeah, whatever you want to share, Ras, is gratefully received by the audience and by me. And I'm really interested to learn about you and where it all began. Where did you start to wake up to this higher consciousness, and how did it
Okay,
all
let me
happen?
say this. Okay. So I'm working in a job. I'm working by the Polo Club. Good job. I'm doing marketing, a company called Choco Cove, you know. And one evening I came home from work and I was on my computer making a beat. And then I heard a voice, and the voice said, I'm going to teach you not to look behind you. I'm like, whoa, get out of here. What's that? Am I hallucinating or what? So I'm there. And get this, it's not like I was smoking or anything. I
Yeah.
was just there coming in from work, had an idea, working on it, and then I hear the voice again. You have everything you need. I am going to teach you to stop, look behind you. I'm like, what? Didn't pay it any mind. At work, and I realized that I got annoyed at being at work. The environment became, I wouldn't say hostile, but the environment became, what's the word I'm looking for? The environment wasn't as fun as it was before I heard the voice.
Mm.
After hearing the voice, I started to see things differently. And I started to comprehend things differently. And it was like a month after I quit my job, and they really liked me at that job,
Yeah.
Even if I wanted now, I could still go back and get that job doing some marketing for them to show you. And that's like 15 years, a good time now. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? I quit my job, I bought a guitar, I made a hammock, and I gave up my apartment, and I gave away everything that I had. And I went in the wilderness, in the bush. And there's this falls that I always go to. It's called the Reggae Trail Falls. It's close to one of our major attractions called Duns River. It's a little bit before you reach Duns River in the parish of St. Ann in Ocho.
Yeah.
And in the morning I'd jog to the falls, and in the evening I'd go down there and practice on my guitar, because I had guitars before, but I'd given them away, because I learned music the hard way. I didn't go to this big institution to learn music.
Mm.
The journey of learning music it should be everyone's life, because I think when you learn music, it puts something in you. It gives you a different drive. Life is not so boring when you're pursuing the course of music. So I'm by this falls, one morning, what I'd normally do, I'd like have my guitar bag and I have two suits of clothes, one in my guitar bag and I have one on. So when I go to the falls, I wash the one I have on and I put on the other one, and the one I wash, the one that I wash, I put stuff to dry. And then I go lay my hammock and practice the guitar.
Thanks for being part of this conversation. One of the things I'm learning during this series is that the chapters of each person's story are still being written. If you are conscious of a new story wanting to emerge in your life, but the clutter of your mind is slowing you down, a simple way to start is by decluttering your physical space. Subscribe and download my free ebook, Simplify Your Life, helping you to declutter and make way for the things that matter. Download your free copy at www.simplifyandmakespace.com.
Someday, one morning, did little exercise like I normally do, wash my clothes, and I'm there resting. I'm with my guitar. I wasn't sleeping, I was just resting. And then I hear this voice, let me see the guitar. So I'm like, is this another dream or what? So I open my eyes and I see this beautiful woman. And she said, let me see the guitar. I'm like, what? I'm by the I said, this thing, She said, let me see the guitar. I said, that's okay. And I give it to her. She's like, I'm like, damn, this is like Mozart. This is like Beethoven. This is like, who is this person? Then, I was like, coincidence. So, the person left, and got down, took up my hammock, guitar, clothes, everything. So I decided to exit this falls. And the falls is actually below the road. So you'd have to climb up to go back on top of the road. So on my way up to the road, it's like I'm stepping up, I'm holding on to a tree, stepping up, holding on to another tree. So the third tree now, when I held on to the third tree, I see go like, shh. I'm like, damn, it must be windy out there or something.
Mm-hmm.
The strangest thing was that this was the only tree moving. I'm like, my head was this big. I was like, damn, this tree must be feeling my vibe. So I didn't pay that no mind. I held on to the next tree, and I see them start to move. So the final tree now, before I step up on the sidewalk, I'm like holding on to this tree. And I see go. So I stand up and I look down the line that way, and I look down the line that way to see if the other trees are moving. And when I look, the only tree that was moving was the tree that I was holding on to. And the message came to my mind. I will show you my secret if you can keep it to yourself. Like, what? this must be high school again or something, you know. You hear these voices, but I didn't know where the voices was coming from,
Yeah.
you know. And then I learned that, you know, what we think life is, we didn't we didn't begin yet. We haven't begun the journey of life. We're just some ideas floating around, you know. We haven't tapped into that, the first layer, much less to go to the second layer, much less to hit what you're going to see, you know. We didn't go to the core of what we're to experience yet. We didn't even scratch the surface. And that's what I received from this experience. And there was
Wow.
another time when I was like, remember, I didn't plan anything. Everything was like spontaneous, you know. I was just going, I was allowing myself to be guided, because what I realized is that if you don't allow yourself to be guided, you're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of energy, because there's two ways to get to where you're going. You can search and find, or you can let someone take you there who's already been there.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I was just allowing myself to observe this experience. And I realized in a case like this, you have to be very careful, because there's a thin line between what's guiding you and what your surrounding is like. Because people will definitely alienate you when they see you on a different vibe, especially if they don't understand.
Yeah. 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 That's interesting, because I literally had a conversation last week with with a guy who was saying this exact thing. He was saying, that, he had this spontaneous, I'm not going to spoil it because, of course, people are going to watch it, but he had this spontaneous awakening as well, where he was woken up to something much greater than himself. And he said there was people around him who just couldn't relate, couldn't get it, couldn't understand. They're like, what's happened to this? What's happened to the guy I knew yesterday? What's happened to that guy? So I kind of can see how that happens. Just going back a little bit, when you were in this job, you just living your life normally, you're doing routine stuff, whatever. Were you actually happy, or was there like unhappiness there, or was there something else going on for this voice to come to arrive at that moment, or was it literally everything was just perfect and the voice just appeared?
Well, to tell you the truth, I was after examining what I had been through, I realized that we all have dual personalities. And the mindset that you are born with is different from the mindset that you learn to become. And what I'd realized is that I had a strong spiritual presence that I didn't acknowledge while having this experience in this job out there.
Mhm.
Yeah. While being in the job, I was always good at my job. Whatever I do, I try to be at least not the worst. So they saw me as,
Yeah.
I think they saw me as an asset.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm always giving them ideas of how to improve things. And here come new workers, new workers, new workers. You know that new workers always try to impress, and on their journey trying to impress their employer, they have to step on someone. And
Mhm.
here comes the corporate ladder. Everyone trying to step on each other. And I realized that situation was eminent in my experience. So I decided that, you know what, I think I need to do something. I followed my mind. In this case, it was really like playing Jeopardy, because I didn't know what I was going to eat. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know where I was going to sleep. Even though there was family and friends, for some reason, I didn't acknowledge any family and friend. My mind was like, whatever happened, happens. And I went to sleep in the bush, you know. And by being with nature, I realized that we were all out of place living in society because there's no way a child could develop without its mother. And I was a child of creation, so nature needed to nurture I, so I can come and speak to you like this. Yeah, so being in the job, as you say, was it okay? The job was okay because I liked what I was doing, but I became tired of it. You know, the money was okay, you know, everything was okay on that part. You know, I had a good apartment, you know. I never get any time to spend the money that I earned, you know. And I'm leaving from work to go home to sleep.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know, I had good benefits. The employers were good, you know. You know, I'd say it was okay, you know. When you get, it's just a calling, you know. And I think we're every minute, at every hour, at every point of the day, we're getting a calling. It's like getting a message on your phone to say Calvin is on Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, do I answer Calvin or do I answer the next person who's calling me on WhatsApp, or you know, is what you choose, is the call you choose to answer. So I answered the call, and here goes Calvin.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing because I mean I'm guessing that did you have any resistance when you heard this call, or was it so overwhelmingly powerful that it just took you? I mean, the way you're telling me, it sounds like this voice was so strong and the calling was so strong that you just obeyed without resistance. Did you
Yeah,
have any apprehension at the time? That were you thinking, for example, you know, like I think about me when I left my job, I was in a corporate situation 7 years ago. I think about the fear, the terror of leaving this security. Did you have any of that kind of resistance, or was it just really easy for you?
well, to tell you the truth, I didn't even think about it because
Yeah.
in order to get rid of fear, you don't think. You got to just do it like Nike.
Mm.
Think about it, then you have to judge the situation. But if you don't think about it,
It just happens.
because if you think about it, you're gonna have what I said, you're gonna have expectations. Anything you think about, you develop a certain expectation. And sometimes your expectation is not what happens. Because as I said, sometimes in life you can't know where you're gonna reach.
Yeah.
You can't know where you're gonna go, and you can't know where you're gonna reach. So to me, it wasn't easy and it wasn't hard. It was just a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't easy and it wasn't hard because I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. That makes sense.
Well,
Just
the hardest part about that situation is that when you're around people who know you, say for example, you drive a Benz and your friend drive Benz and
yeah.
the rest drive Porsche, and you know you're in that circle, and then one day you're like, damn, I sold my car, gave up my apartment, I'm gonna start walking, and I don't have a job, and I don't know when my bank account is gonna be finished, or if it's finished, I don't know. I'm just gonna go and do whatever.
Yeah.
Then people around you now start to alienate you. They're gonna say you're crazy. Some gonna say this. Some gonna say that. And if you're not careful, you will start to believe in what they say because so many people around you saying it. It creates an illusion. And
Yeah.
if you choose to believe in the illusion, you become what that illusion. You start to feel the effects of what that illusion brings. So in
Yeah.
a state that you have to be very careful as not to get confused because a lot of people go within self and get lost. They don't know how to find back that road to self, to consciousness, because you're tapping into a place. It's like you're going into the unknown, but it's not physically, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you sit, you can really sit and daydream, and it's like you're not even here, even though you're here. You're sitting here, but your mind is totally on some other plane. and you're not feeling as if you're physically here. You're feeling as if you're where your mind is. Yeah, so that's what
Yeah.
it's like, you know. So
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
why the video called Ego is Betraying You, because from that experience, I realized what good the ego had and what bad the ego had. And I realized that ego is not something I want to be a part of,
Yeah.
because it's the false representation of self.
Mhm. Mm, mm. Yeah. So how did you find out? I mean, was that difficult to deal with? I guess you got this kind of you're immersed in a certain culture, like a microcosmic culture around you, and maybe your activity was now the vibration wasn't at that resonant level. Did that have give you any problems? Did you feel like outcast from your friendship group, or did you just know, like, because it's deeper I've met people who've been like saying, I just knew without a shadow of a doubt that I needed to take this path, and nothing bent them from that. Was it as clear cut as that for you, or was that a big challenge for you?
Well, how you said it, I never thought about it that way, because when you're going through a situation, you're trying your best not to lose the foundation of which you think you understand things on.
Yeah.
Meaning that if I'm promoting this lighter and I'm about this lighter, I don't allow anything or anyone to stop me from thinking about this lighter in the way that I want, and from working with that company, doing some marketing, I had a certain way about me in which when you hold on to something, you know, you got to hold on to something that is worth holding on to. And when you grasp that thing, you can't let anyone convince you to give it away or throw it away. So to me it wasn't hard because I had my own mindset, and I don't allow people to manipulate my mind. And
Yeah.
that's where it became a problem, because sometimes people talking stuff that I don't want to hear. Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm sharing something with someone. I'm, I realize that people are very sensitive, and people are very jealous. It doesn't matter if it's white, it's black, or China, or it doesn't matter. If you're in a room and you're saying something and it sounds like you're a smart guy in the room, you're gonna have some problem, because for some reason someone is gonna be there to go against what you're saying.
Yeah.
And if that person is convincing enough, that person convince everyone in that room against you. So if you don't have a mind of your own, you're gonna start to believe in what they're saying, and it's gonna put you out of your place.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that's what the basis of psycho sickness is.
Yeah. Man. Well, we can see a lot of that happening around the place, can't we?
I tell you.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
realized in order for me to get myself out of the mindset of what everyone is into and work with my own mindset as it relates to man and nature, not man to man, not man to woman, not man to child, man and creation. Yeah, I realized that if you don't find the urge to connect to your greatest self, you're lost.
Yeah.
Our greatest self seems to be nature. I'm sure there are things greater than nature, but we haven't discovered it yet. So my experience to me was an initiation
Yeah.
into something beyond ourselves, rather than rather than being a part of a group or a system in which they initiate you to give you privileges. It's the same way in existence, creation. You are initiated by the way you think and how you perceive the ideas that are transcended to your mind, because thoughts come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Based on this, is like life is like a school, but
Yeah.
99.9% seems to be running away from school. They're skipping school. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I see with society. So that's why it's hard for society and people who's seeking real knowledge to kind of merge, because society is an ego. Society does not exist. It's a
Mm-hmm.
fact. Society does not exist. There's not a place called society. You can't go anywhere and show me and say, there goes society. Society,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's an idea, you know.
Yeah.
You can't show me, there goes America. No, there's no America. There goes the piece of land that people live on.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of America is an idea. So I try not to give in to the ideas that are misleading the masses, because I get a message, you know, and the message said, you know, you can reach if only you can reach if only you can escape the snares of life. Meaning that if you learn how to detach yourself from all things, including ego, there's a place for us that we can go. And
Yeah.
this place, other people are there. It has nothing to do with death, because death only occur because we're not fully aware of what we're supposed to do to continue life on a perpetual path. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we stop in the physical, believing that our greatest existence, our experience is in the physical, not knowing that the bottom of the ship is bigger than the top of the ship, and we're only on the top of the ship, but we're not remembering that there are cabins. It's like you're on the top of the ship. You know, the ship is cruising through the sea, and all you're on the top of the ship. You're not realizing that there's other people on at the bottom of the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's something I see in life. You know,
Yeah.
we're on
Yeah.
top of the surface, but there's something bigger than us beneath the surface of life. So I'm trying to connect with that which is beneath the surface of life. But we have to
Yeah.
have a particular discipline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm imagining I'm sort of imagining you walking up back to the road from the river and holding on to these trees, and these trees are vibrating, and they're kind of communicating with you in some way. Did you know what they were saying at the time, or was this more something more reflective that you kind of look back? You know, sometimes you have these experiences and then you look back and you think, oh, like 10 years later, you go, oh, that's what that was. You know, or did you kind of know in that moment? Because like right now, I'm listening to you, really resonating with me in a heart level, and I'm saying, this is this feels true what you say, and it's also very, you know, there's a lot of wisdom in how you're expressing yourself. Was that the case when you were grabbing onto each of those trees? Did you feel that same wisdom, or how did that wisdom then evolve inside of you with that passage of
Well,
time?
what I realized, all right, what I'd received from the plant,
Mm,
it was an initiation into seeing what you've never seen. It was like nature saying, okay, you're one of us now, you know. Okay, you're still in basic school though. All right. You know, it's like the tree saying that you're on the right path, you know. And I'm saying, well, what I'd learned from that is if we only learn how to resonate with the vibrations around us, then we become one with everything around us. Because what I realize, you know, there are earthquakes, there are big speakers vibrating the place, there are loud audiences vibrating the place, there's a big rock concert vibrating the place, but there's a subtle, continuous vibration that's never been interfered, and it's always there. And it's the vibration of all things. And if we learn how to vibrate on that level, then we can become all things. Because it's a vibration, it's like if you learn the universal vibration code, then you can become that speaker box. Then you can become that tree. Then you can become, and I realize that to me, everything that you see, that even the tree, the reason why the tree is here and it's gonna be here forever is because the tree learned how to, to me, these trees are people. Everything is living its people in a different state of vibration.
Yeah.
And, how do we escape this society that distracts us and puts us in the misdirection? Society knows that if you go that way up the hill, you're going to find resurrection of self. So that's why they're always pointing you downhill, because they're saying if they don't know, we can use them. But if they know, we can't do nothing with them. So they
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so what happened after the tree situation then? So you obviously went in deep into the woods, into Mother Nature,
I'm
and
gonna tell you.
yeah.
So I'm with my hammock and I'm with my guitar bag.
Hmm.
And at this point, I'm not thinking, so I have no fear. But in the middle of the night, I'm like in the bush. I'm at some places where, people would normally be by themselves. So I realized one evening, coming from the fall, I hear, "Quack, quack, quack, quack." I'm like, damn, what's this sound? I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around, I'm like, something. So I looked up and I saw a white bird. I'm like, damn, and it looked like a hole, white hole. But because I was by the ocean, I thought it was one of them seabirds. I don't know
Hmm.
what's the grits are. What I don't know the name of the seabirds, a white one. So I'm like, okay. So I walked from the falls to the town. So I stopped by my friend, my Rasta friend, and I said, I think a bird is following me.
Yeah.
It's like, what you been smoking? You must be crazy. So you have like a little vendor shop right in the town, and there's two palm trees. And I'm like, the bird is following me, and he's like, "You okay, bro?" Like, yeah, man. It's like, you've been smoking. I'm like, no, I'm coming from the farm. There's a bird following me. And he was like touching his other friend, saying, yo, listen to what he's saying. And when he touched his friend, boom, the bird lands on the top of the palm tree. Big white owl lands on top of the palm tree. I'm like, ah, and he's speechless. It's like, I don't know if you know what name cold bomb. There's small bombs that come upon you when you're freaked
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So your brethren saw this, did he?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
all of their side. And I was like, whoa, this is a
uh,
little heavy. And they all stopped talking to me. Like, you can leave now. Like, okay, I was just saying that a bird was following me. So, differently from that, I realized I always see a bird. And to me, it's always the same bird. Even where I'm at now, sometimes I hear something on the roof and I go, look, this is big white owl. I'm like, where there must be big white owls out here. So anyhow, one night, the rain was falling. So I went up to a place and I tied my hammock very, very high because I didn't want anyone to see me and I didn't want anyone or anything to be able to get to me easily. So I tied my hammock very high. I'm like more than 50 feet high.
wow.
It's about 80 feet high. I tied high up. Climb. I went up there in my hammock, you know, sleeping, I wasn't resting. I was sleeping. And I slowly woke up out of my sleep. It was raining. So the hammock is tied from that way to this way because I was tied from the east to the west. And there's a string, the rope is like this. It's
Yeah.
raining, pull my tarp, pull it over, rain. I like, damn, this is comfortable. It's raining, it's raining. So I'm like there, resting, haven't fallen asleep. And while being there, I tell you, bro, I don't know how to explain this, but I saw, it's like I'd seen myself moving towards the sky by my foot. It's like, it's like, it is strange, man. It's like you can really sit there and willfully come out of yourself, like the movies.
Yeah.
You know? I'm like, whoa, 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 like, damn, what is this,
Yeah. Good thing you didn't drop out the hammock, though.
No, I didn't drop out the hammock. I'm like, whoa, what experience is this? And, it's like, see, it's like, moving towards the sky by my foot, you know? I'm like, whoa, what is this? You know? And I'm like having visions of some, I'm seeing while this is happening, I'm reflecting through my mind, I'm seeing like some old images of, it's not, I don't think it's the writing that they got on the prayer, hieroglyphics. It's not hieroglyphics, but it's something that is, I'm like, what the, so coming out of that experience, trying to explain to someone, they're like, okay, so you're flying? So it's
That's
been an
big.
experience. It's been
That's
an
big.
experience.
Yeah. When you sleep in east, when you sleep in that east to west direction, do you have your head east or west?
You got to have your head towards the sun,
Yeah. So you,
because if
yeah,
you were sleeping and you were waking up, you don't want the sun to be in your eyes.
yeah. So you sleep with
Natural,
your head to the east. Yeah.
yeah. It's natural to me that a person sleeps on his back. We are meant to sleep on our backs. Yeah, because we were supposed to be experiencing the heavens while we sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, and that's what I've discovered. We were supposed to be seeing the heaven
Yeah.
before the destruction of colonialism and control. Man on his greatest moment, even when he's gonna pass away, he don't pass away. He goes to a different place. Because imagine if you were out somewhere in the wilderness and you're gonna die. I don't think you'd be laying on your stomach.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
So laying on our backs has something to do with the sky.
I guess also being open too, right? Because, you know, when somebody is truly fearless, like you went into the forest, you went into the mountains, into the hills, and you were in the bush. It was dense bush. I'm imagining you
To be
can't
afraid
hear but you were saying earlier that there was no fear when you heard this voice. There was no time to think. There's no time to worry about if I do this will happen if I do. So there was kind of like a fearlessness about you, and I'm sort of correlating now in my own mind uh this fearlessness and sleeping in a open way, because if I was terrified, I wouldn't sleep on my back because I'll be trying to protect myself all the time. That will manifest.
you
So
can't protect yourself. Listen,
yeah,
you can't protect yourself if you're not sleeping on your back.
yeah.
To sleep on your back is to be alert. Because if you're sleeping on your stomach, I mean, someone come, all they have to do is step on your back. You know,
Yeah,
but if you're sleeping on your back and someone come and try to step on you, you hold the foot.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that defend, it's it's
yeah,
I think it's the right way to sleep on your back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So wow, so you had this kind of out of body experience. And I tell you what, brother, there was a time, and I mentioned this to somebody in a lot of conversation. I was working in a hotel at night, every night around between 1 and 3 a.m., I'll do these meditations. I'll sit down, meditate for an hour. My team knew this was my rhythm. You know, they were like, that's what he
Yeah.
does. So we're just going to leave him, let him do his thing. And, you know, I'm going to talk about this more in the future, but what I want to share with you is that I had this experience where I started to float in the meditation, rise up out of my body kind of experience, but I started to get motion sick. Like one part of me was spinning this way, other part was spinning this way, like come to a rotation. And I opened my eyes because I actually thought if I don't open my eyes, I'm gonna vomit.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And those experiences are so profound. So, like, what for you? You're basically seeing yourself rising up out of your body, going into the heavens, and is this another initiation happening for you?
What I realize is that whatever is guiding me is showing me that I can go and I can come. And that made me fearless even more because most people take it. Let us look at a woman. There's three things that a woman never wants:
Mhm.
death, no money, and they don't want to be ugly. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so you know, well, you're probably wondering what I just said had to do with our conversation, but when I was experiencing that, you know, it
Yeah.
wasn't initiation. It was more like this is the way out or this is the way in,
Mhm.
because we seem to think that we're inside of somewhere trying to go out,
Yeah.
not knowing that we're out somewhere trying to get in. I'm not trying, the scientist trying to go out, but it's not going out, it's coming in. For some reason, going out is coming in and coming in is going out. It's strange. It's like if you want to go forward, you'd have to throw backwards. You'd have to have the mindset to go like this for it to go forward. And I realized that is how I can't say life is, or I can't say the mind is. It's
Mhm.
just how some things are.
You gave
And
me
we
chills now, man. You're giving me chills now here, man.
and we weren't able, put it this way.
Yeah.
What we're to see will never be shown to us. And it's our duty to pay attention to what is happening or what could be happening. Yeah. Not everything in life is an initiation.
Mhm.
Some things, all right, put it this way.
Yeah.
Learn how to control our thoughts, but our emotion, because they say mind, body, and soul. So I'm like, this is the body, that's the mind. What is the soul? Most people don't know what their souls are. I would say 99.999% don't know what the soul is. And I think to me, they say whenever you got the mind, body, and soul in one, then you can manipulate nature. And I realize that something like that is similar. When your mind is saying what your body is saying, and then your emotions is your soul. Then if your mind is saying yes, your body is saying yes, and your emotion is saying yes, then you have the power to change the fabric of reality. But most people are either physical, mental, or too emotional. So I realized that having the balance between the mind, the body, and the soul is the paradigm to seeing the bigger picture.
Mhm.
Yeah, because without living a life without seeing the bigger picture, not seeing the bigger picture would make life still and not animated. Because most people are stuck in society. You got the money, you got the house, you got the car, you got the girls, you got all the important people. Oh, can we get something different from coffee?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Belly full,
The
but
part
but
of
but
us,
still hungry.
the biggest part of us is the part of us that you can't touch. And I'm gonna prove it to you.
Mm,
All right. Let me see. You know,
mhm,
like a cruise ship. Can you picture like a cruise ship?
yeah.
Picture a cruise ship in your mind.
Mm,
You think you can get like a 3D vision or a 360 view of a cruise ship in your mind?
hmm.
No, maybe like 5 cruise ships lined up. You think you could picture that in your mind?
Hmm.
You see how big your mind is?
Yeah,
Yeah, man. So big that mind is that you can fit 5 cruise ships in your mind.
yeah.
Yeah, man. That's the
Five.
level of time,
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we need to discover, where we are physically,
So
you know.
you're saying that you learned in your experience that the mind and I guess maybe imagination too is quite a powerful thing for us to help us to change our reality. Is that what you're kind of saying there?
Put it this way,
Hmm.
Zoom, the Zoom that we're using, that's imagination. Someone imagine that.
Yeah.
The microphone that you're using, that's imagination. The headphones that you're using, imagination. The phone that you're using, imagination. The lens in the camera, that's imagination.
Yeah. 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 You reminded me of what was that book that I read? You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he talks a lot about, he does a lot of scientific research, of course, too, but he talks a lot about the emotional state being the kind of final trigger point to changing, manifesting a different physical reality for yourself. So even people, for example, will be healing all kinds of physical ailments that the doctors say you can't heal and things like that. So you talk about manipulating physical reality. A lot of people listening to this might be thinking about out there, right? But actually, it's also in here too, isn't it?
Let me say this to you.
Yeah.
We are all gods. And let me explain what I mean. You see, Calvin that's sitting there, in Calvin's body, there are trillions of cells, and you are the God for all of them. And I personally, I am like a blood cell in the body of life. That's how I see myself, like a blood cell in the vein of life. And I am trying to be a good cell because I realize that society is a nest of bad cells. So in the body of life, I'm trying to be the healthy cell. And how to be healthy in the body of life is the mind healthy, the body healthy, and emotionally healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
as you said about emotion, that's what I said, your soul. Emotion is your soul. I am fixed on that because I've searched everything and I can't see what the soul in my shoes is not the same soul and it couldn't be my soul.
Yeah.
Your emotion, your emotion can't lie.
Mm,
It's the only part of you that is always true. Your mind will trick you and your body will fail you, but your emotions never lie. It never lie. Because if you go somewhere and you feel scared, there's something to be afraid of. And if you go somewhere and you feel love, you're gonna cry.
yeah.
And if you go somewhere and something is not right, something is gonna sense that something is not right.
I remember hearing a story once, and I can't remember it like, perfectly, but it was something along the lines of the Buddha and some monks. They're all kind of, you know, Buddha was nurturing them to enlightenment, and there's like one last monk to go, right? Everybody was enlightened except for this one last monk. And the monk says, "Oh, right, yeah, I'm enlightened now. I'm enlightened." Um, and the other monks who were also waiting to reach enlightenment after were saying, they said, "Really?" And they said, "I believe, let's ask the Buddha." Yeah, so they said to the Buddha, is he really enlightened? Because the Buddha could see other enlightened beings very clearly. And he says, "Oh, no, no, he's not enlightened. I'll prove it to you." So he calls the monk and he says, "You're enlightened." The monk says, "Yeah." He says, "All right, use your power of psychic creativity to project a tiger into this room so all of us can see it." Yeah. So he conjured this tiger with his psychic power, and everybody in the room saw this tiger, and he got scared and he ran away. And then the Buddha said, "See, he's not enlightened because he hasn't mastered or conquered his own fear. That he should be afraid of his own mental projection is telling you that
And that's what
he's
you say,
afraid."
very, 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 I like that because I come across that, you know,
Mm.
and you see, life has set a way that if you limit yourself, no one else can make you go. The limit that we put on ourselves, that's what keeps us trapped, because we limit ourselves,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
watch this. Even people, when I realize what I am experiencing, I realize that it makes no sense for you to send your child to school. Why would you send a child to school to get him doctrinized, get him indoctrinated on man-made things that has a lifespan? Why not get him to get him to be enlightened about things that are limitless? You know,
Yeah.
man know thyself. If we were to know more about our spiritual selves before we enter in society, then society would be a better place.
Mm.
As the world is, there will never be a better place as it relates to money and society. Money has no real value.
Mm.
An illusion of wealth.
So the
You
world's
know,
already perfect for our evolution.
yeah, you
Yeah.
see, no matter what you see is happening,
Mm.
everything changes in the split of a second.
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah.
what you see is happening, no matter how atrocious, no matter what you see is happening, in the split of a second, everything can change. So I'm always accommodating change,
Mm. Mm.
because if things were to get better, that would mean that everyone on the planet would have to be reconfirmed.
Yeah.
So it's either you confirm them or you kill them. What you gonna do with all the people with this bad behavior? All these people that were generated because of society, meaning that they were derived based on what society has projected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's got to be someone for the prison,
Yeah.
got to be someone to sweep the street, there got
Yeah.
to be a lawyer, there got to be a mechanic, there got to be a fireman. But you can't be yourself. There's no job in society that allows you to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you're being yourself, you can't be controlled by others.
Yeah. Yeah. To create that that sort of sovereignty, and hold your own discernment. So what after this? And I know we kind of run over time a little bit here. So I don't want to take too much of your time up, but I'm
Always remember this. Time is what we create. Time don't create us, man. We
nice.
are creators so we can make more time.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. I'm glad you said that.
We can make more time, man.
I'm glad you said that, brother.
Come
So
on.
where did you go in your journey after after this experience in the hammock. And I'm curious to know, like, did you ever feel like, oh man, I'm falling off the path here, I'm slipping, or or anything like that? I'm asking because I think about my own self, and some days I'm just like, oh my God, what, you know, I gotta get back on the I gotta get back on the current, man. I'm slipping here, or I'll notice it sometimes even in things that happen in my life to just say, hey, you're not paying attention. And this is for me why I'd like to cultivate the mindfulness. But what happened after that, after the experience with the hammock, and how did that affect the following stages of the story?
It had caused me to look deeper in myself. And when I started to examine myself, I realized that, damn, most people don't even see themselves in life because you have to be somebody else in order to be seen. I'm like, okay, imagine if you had a mango tree and this mango tree had on a mango that was different from all the mangoes. People be afraid of that, eh? And that is what it became. People became afraid of who you might become or what you might become. At this point, I realize that people have a lot of eyes on you because, mark this one, if you are doing something and people see that it's successful, people gonna want to go that road. So I realized that people was always looking. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, this is how it works. When you be yourself, then you're seen. If you're not being yourself, you're like everybody else. I'm like, okay, I'm this fingerprint. And I'm not gonna change my fingerprint. So from that time of being in the hammock, it made me start to think different. This is why I ask if you can imagine a ship in your mind. Because
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the mind was bigger than the body. And the mind was bigger than this world. And anything you put in the mind, it magnifies. I'm like, okay, anything you put in the mind, it magnifies. Okay, so damn, I mustn't put the wrong thing in my mind. That is where it led me. And
Mm.
like, okay, if that's the secret of the mind, not putting the wrong thing in the mind, then I must learn how to control my emotion. And the hardest thing for a human being to do is to control their emotions because your emotion controls fear. And how most people would want to know, how do you conquer fear? How do you get rid of fear? I know everyone wants to know the answer to that question. How do you get rid of fear? You get rid of fear by pretending that you're not scared. Because pretending is imagination. And when your imagination overwhelms the emotion, then you're not afraid anymore. You got to use it. Do it. If you imagine that you're not scared, you won't be, you won't be afraid.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Using the mind to create a different reality for yourself.
So after the amok, that's the journey I went on to overstand myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and it's not sometimes, most of the time, it's like you're this piece of diamond walking down the road. Everyone knows that it's a diamond, but you don't know that you're a diamond. So a man must know thyself,
Yeah.
because if you don't know that you're a diamond, you're going to put yourself in places that diamonds don't go. So after the hammock, that left me to go and find where I fit in. So I'm saying, okay, do I fit in there? That's a square. Do I fit there? No. Okay, that's a triangle. Do I fit there? That's a circle. Do I fit there? Yeah. So you have to find yourself where you fit. You
Yeah.
can't, and I didn't want to put myself in a place that I'd have to go and go somewhere else from that place. You got to find a place in yourself that you're comfortable being and stay at
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's within your inner self. So that put me in a place where I can never forget what to do. I might be in situations that I might Okay, for example, I don't drink, but I can go over there and I can drink, and that won't stop me from thinking the way I think, and it won't change me from being who I am, because I
Yeah.
already know who I am,
Yeah.
and I know what I can do and what I can't do. And I have no restriction. I can do anything I want. Is though you interpret it, or like a person who said, "Oh, Calvin is a Christian. He'll never say that word," and then they walk around the corner and you saying that word,
Yeah.
and everybody's like, "Oh, Calvin is bad. That's a judgment."
Hmm.
But the point is, because we are gods, we can do what we want unless it contradicts the laws of the universe and life and the sovereignty of us as individuals. As long as you're not bothering anyone, you can do practically anything you want to do, as long as it is contributing to
Hmm.
the upliftment and the expansion of life as it should be, and not what we see.
Yeah. 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 And you kind of started unfolding you when you learned about yourself, basically, when you started to understand yourself. These realizations are just boom, just going off inside of you. Is this nature teaching you more trees? Is it the bird coming and whispering in your ear? Or how are all these kind of arriving? Is it kind of instantaneous epiphanies from
That's it.
meditation? Hmm.
All knowledge is in one place. And it's like getting access to this. It's like digital access, it's like going across the internet, like the matrix. You
Hmm.
know, you become, all right, let me say this to you. With the mindset and what I've experienced, I learned that everything is one thing. You can't have two love. It's only one love you can have. You can't have two love. You can't love two things, because they're gonna say, all right, you love mango and you love pineapple. Which one you love the most? So you say, I love both of them the same. And I say, all right, pick up one. The one that you pick up first, that's the one you love. But if you love both of them, you pick up one.
Yeah.
You see me?
Hmm.
They say, take the one you want. Take the one you love. If you love pineapple and mango, you take the pineapple and the mango. You wouldn't take the mango or the pineapple. And if
Yeah.
you understand what I'm saying. So I learned how to be practical, not in the sense of what we think practical is, but in the sense of learning of what practicality is based on nature, because nature is punctual and practical. Because every year at the same time, the fruit's ripe. It's always on time. And it's practical because the mango is there from its young until it's cooked by the sun, and then we get to eat. Practical.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
something that we can touch. It's not intangible, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's a lot of real wisdom in this kind of everyday things if we know how to look, you know what I'm saying? And I'm getting that from you. I'm getting that you started to look. So this paying attention thing you're talking about is kind of now to me evident in all these things you're talking about. You're noticing in the ripening of a fruit, or whatever experience in everyday life in a real practical, tangible way. How did this go? How did the music? So you picked up the guitar, because I'm thinking now, I've been listening to your
music,
music, you know what I'm saying? I've been listening
music.
to your music, been loving the music. Um and I'm wondering, like, were you always musical but then learned to play the guitar later, or did the guitar
I'm saying to you.
mm-hmm,
From I was a kid, I was always musical,
mm-hmm,
you know, because we're all musically capable,
yeah,
Music to me is the most ancient form of self awareness, because to be able to play the music, you have to learn it. You cannot pretend that you're a musician, because someone is going to say, play the instrument for me. And you can't pretend that you know how to play. You have to really play it. You can't pretend that you're a lyricist. You know, I'm a lyricist and say, okay, let me hear some lyrics. Give me a freestyle. You know, something. You know? So
Yeah.
the music, I already had the music in me because my mom, she used to play, mess around music, you know. But I didn't see myself as Michael Jackson or Bob Marley because music was something that I love. I love music.
Mm.
Yeah. And to me, as I said before, you know, we are at world school, school of life without the classroom. And in the school of life, you need to master something, or you need to be able to have an idea of something to be eligible to go to the school. So in life, you have to have something that you can work on, or something that you're working on for you to see the evolution of things. Because the evolution of life is like the evolution of everything else. If you see how things start, till you finish, then you'll have a complete idea of what it takes to start something and complete it. So I said, let me choose music, you know, to see if I can start it and I can complete it. So, you know, I wasn't playing instrument as a 5 or 6 year old, but as I got older, you know,
Yeah.
I came across the drums, I came across many things. But because of trying to survive and trying to be a part of society, I was always distracted from really getting into the core of the music. But I was always doing it on the side. That's why I said when I came from work and playing with the computer, I heard the voice
Yeah.
because something saying that, well, you have the basic concept of what it takes to start something and continue it. So, you know, work is only going to distract you more. So why not make a decision to learn more or to fail to show yourself that you're not worthy of doing it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go on that journey to realize that that's not your path, you know. You know,
Yeah, that's a
sometimes
good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, yeah.
the
That counts
best
for a
way
lot, right? Yeah.
the best way to find out is what's gonna happen is to go ahead and do it. Because if you
Yeah.
don't do it, you won't know what will happen. You'd say, well, that could have happened, and this could have happened, or that could have happened. But sometimes when you do it, you realize that that can't work. Or
Yeah.
sometimes when you do it, you're like, well, if I did it this way, you know.
Well,
So I really,
that's acting in accordance with nature, right? Because nature is experimenting all the time, experimenting
yes,
all the time. So before that tree grows over there and it bears fruit, there's so billions of experiments happened before that tree decided I'm going to
yes.
grow hair at this time.
So
So I
what
guess
I realized,
yeah, we're embodying that. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
what I realized is that by trying to start something and finish it, you kind of basically grasp the idea of most things. Because one ability that I've gotten from my whole experience is that I can do anything. If I wanted to be a rocket scientist, I could start tomorrow, and by next week, I tell you, there'll be an advancement in
Yeah.
a short space of time. I don't know if it's because of how I think or what, but I realize that I can literally do anything.
Yeah.
You know, I can look at something and I can have an idea of where it started and how it finished. And you know, when you look at something real good, you can see what was put in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
You know?
what I want to know? I want to know, you know, where did the white owl go? Have you seen it since it
Yeah,
landed
man,
on
the
the
white
roof?
owl is always there, man. The other night I woke up, I hear some noise like 2 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, I go out there, it's the big white owl.
Yeah,
Okay. That seems to be always around, you know?
yeah. Does it bring you messages, this owl? Like, does it come at certain times where, there's a message from the universe or nature for you, or is it just there sort of in the background all the time?
What I see this owl as, it's like my spiritual mother, you know, or a spiritual guardian, you know, something that wants to see us grow, you know, something that's keeping and always keeping an eye. Well, it could be some institution trying to have surveillance on us and using birds as cameras, but, you know,
Yeah, Yeah.
I got to tell you something, you know.
Hmm.
Birds have the ability to interject in both worlds. There's something special about birds. That's why they fly. There's something special about birds that I realize, you know. They're even more important than what we think. Because without birds, we wouldn't have any food. So the birds, it's no wonder why people affiliate angels with wings. Because they know that birds have a certain powers. And I'm not like talking like about like Superman, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Certain, because you see, everything in life has a role, you know. And there's a script. And if you're not playing according to the role that you get, you know, you're not important. So we got to make ourselves important. It's like nature is searching for us and can't find us, you know, because how nature intended us to be, man has changed that, you know.
Yeah,
Instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
being a fingerprint as a person, everybody's trying to be the same, you know. And we
Hmm.
all can't be the same.
Yeah, yeah. So where does this all bring you now, Russ? I obviously am. We're connected, and I'm watching all of the amazing stuff that you're creating. What's the uh, what's the story unfolding for you now, and where is your where do you feel at this moment anyway?
Well, the story
It's
I'm
taking you.
telling you is that you know, as you become more popular, people expect you to be acting like this guy in society who wants a big car. You got to have this flashy, fancy clothes. You have to be playing this devil's advocate. And I'm like, I'm not much into that, you know, because if who you are is real, I mean, why would you want to change that? You know, why would I want to change my shirt because I think some girl down there is gonna like my shirt or some people over there is gonna like, you know, I'm not trying to get people to like, you know. I'm trying
Mhm.
to like myself as is, you know.
Yeah.
So that is where it finds me, you know. I'm not trying to get this ego trip going. Because sometimes you're like, yeah, yeah, sister, like, okay, I sorry. Yeah, nice to meet you. It's okay now, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just like being alienated when I was starting this journey, it's the same thing now, you know. People trying to put you in a different place. They're trying to get your ego. They're
Mm.
trying to build your ego around you. So you be just like, hey, that's me, that's me, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
love, you know. So
yeah.
I'm not trying. It is just how it is, you know. You just have to be what you're about. That's why I answered your call, you know. I'm like,
Yeah, and
okay,
I was just gonna say, I
if
think
I was this, if
in
I was
some
this
ways that's why
ego
I was
guy, I was
attracted
like,
to you too.
you know, who's
Yeah,
this called? Calvin, who's cat? Oh, you know, I'm
yeah,
not sure because if the message is real, you know, bro.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
put it this way: we're only individual physically, but internally, that which governs the mind and the emotion is the same. So it's like there's a big fish swimming in the ocean, and but there are many scales on the fish. Some of the scales on the head, some of the scales on the tail, some of the scales on the belly. But the scales on the tail feel like it's different from the scale on the head, not knowing that all the scales are exactly alike. Yeah, so that's what it's about, you know. Being 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 accepted by your greater self. That's what I'd say. You'd accept it, it's an initiation. You know, it's being accepted by a great. It's a form of initiation into the spiritual realms because not very many people are gonna be able to speak the way I speak in the future to come. So
Yeah,
this is why we're even here now recording this.
yeah.
This is not a mistake that we're doing here. Because
Mhm.
if it was, we wouldn't be doing it.
Mm.
And even if it's 1,000 years and no one troubles the YouTube or any one of the platform, that video will still be there. So maybe 1,000 years you come back and like, oh shit, that looks like me. That must be my uncle's cousin, brother, sister. brother, cousin, sister, cousin, you know. So that's why we're here, because life is so nice, you know, and they seem to have good personalities and good spirit in them. I mean, why would people have to die, you know? But I realize that people don't die, you know. We don't die, because if people were able to die, no one would be here. Because if, for example, they say black people are from Africa, I say people are from Earth and other places in the universe. And black people are from Africa, not Africa. Africa is a colonial word, you know, Abyssinia, Kush, you know. If that's where we're from, and you're here now, and you're not in that place, and you look at yourself, you're saying, hey, I'm not Abyssinian, because you were born in Abyssinia. But scale on the tail and the scale on the fin is the same scale, no matter where it is on the fish.
Yeah.
And that's what we're not realizing.
Is that oneness that you talked about earlier, isn't it? That you
were to get the fish, and you put the picture of the fish there, and you find where you are, and you connect the dots, you realize that, oh, the scale on the tail and the scale on the head. Damn, we're all scales. Let us protect this fish.
Yeah.
So it's like we're saying we're all living, so let's protect nature.
Yeah. And of course we're part of nature. So I guess it's that, like you talked about, that relationship between the birds. Maybe would be no birds, there'd be no food, there'd be no, you know, so on that symbiotic relationship, you know, we're all in this oneness. Yeah, wow. I want to hear more. I can't hear it all now because I got to go and take my son somewhere. But I would love to connect with you again in future, brother. Because there's so much in richness and depth once you got out of that hammock that we haven't got into. But you know, I really just want to say thank you for making the time. I really appreciate it. I love the work that you're doing and the light that you're shining in the world. And you know, there's something.
I'm not cutting. No, hold on. I'm not cutting. It's not. I'm not shining a light in the world, man.
Yeah.
I'm only reflecting the light that is being shone.
Yes.
Reflecting the light.
Yes.
Light is greater than us, you know?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for expressing that one so beautifully. Thank you for tuning in to this conversation with me on the Stories of Awakening podcast. It was an absolute delight to have you here. And this is just a reminder to head over to simplifyandmakespace.com to collect your free decluttering workbook to simplify your life and make way for the things that matter.